Because his proposals are fundamentally undemocratic. Johnson, the Prime Minister, talks about getting Brexit done, but this will do over the British people, and that's according to the government's own economic research, which shows that we're looking at a 6.4% drop in real wages as a result of this, a 6.7% drop in GDP. And your viewers will know, because they lived through it, that is of the same order that we saw in the wake of the global financial crash of 2008-9. And it isn't going to solve anything, because of course his withdrawal agreement doesn't include a trade deal, which would take years to negotiate. All it does include is an agreement on a divorce bill of around £39 billion, arrangements on EU and UK citizens' rights in each other's territories, some kind of track towards perhaps resolving the Irish border issue, and an implementation or transition period. Now that implementation period, and this is important for investors, finishes at the end of next year. So all this will be doing is extending the gangplank, but extending it into thin air, because we don't know what will happen in December 2020 when that implementation period ends.
But this isn't necessarily Mr. Johnson's deal. This is the will of the people. The 17.2 or 17.4, I believe, as well. Those people voted for it. It's not for politicians necessarily to say, we'll have another go at this till we get the result we want. I mean, would you vote for it if there was an amendment tomorrow saying that there was a confirmatory referendum attached to it?
Yeah, because I think that would be, I think ultimately this does have to go back to the British people. The problem is Parliament has been trying to square the circle of the fantasy promises that Boris Johnson made to the British people. He said in 2016, and remember they didn't define the Brexit that was on offer. They just said it can be whatever you want it to be. But what he said very clearly is that we'll get the exact same benefits of EU membership without having to pay the subscription fee and without having to abide by the rules of the club. And it does kind of beg the question, well, why would you bother joining the club if you can have all its benefits for free?
Because there are other clubs out there, Chuka. You know as well as I do, there are great opportunities out there which actually the British government feels at the moment they can negotiate better, not in the EU.
I'm glad you raised that, because of course the other big promise that he made in that campaign was that as soon as you Brexit, so on the 31st of October, there will be all these new trade deals with third countries ready to go. Where are all these new big trade deals?
Well, Mr. Trump has promised to put us at the front of the queue, hasn't he? As opposed to Mr. Obama, who said we'd be at the back of the queue.
So long as we open up our treasured NHS to private provision and allow, for example, the selling of chlorinated chicken in the UK.
Let's leave chlorinated chicken aside, but isn't the NHS... I mean, I always wonder if this is a red herring about the NHS, because I look at the magnificent institution it is, and I'm an enormous fan, Chuka, like yourself, but it is open to the private sector, left, right and centre. I was speaking to an anaesthetist at dinner the other day. He's a private individual, he's a private man. So to say that the NHS is going to be all of a sudden opened up to the private sector, is that a little bit disingenuous?
No, it's what the Americans have been asking for, and I know that because that's what the US government has told me. I'm not denying that there are private sector mechanisms in the NHS, but essentially it's a public sector body. That's of its nature. You can't have a national health service, which is the envy of the world, without ensuring that it is treated differently to any other thing that you would have in a market. You know, that's partly, you know, that's why the NHS is what it is, because it isn't governed by the market. But that's what would be being asked for. But I think the thing that worries a lot of people here too is that it will sell British people's rights down the river. That's what the Trade Union General Secretary, the TUC General Secretary Francis O'Grady has said. You know, those protections that come with membership of the single market, on the environment, for consumers, for employees will go. But I think, you know, most relevant, of course, is going to be, you know, what will happen with financial services regulation when we leave. Now, the desire of most people in the square mile was for us to have some system of mutual recognition. That is not going to happen. The kind of inferior option after that is equivalence. That doesn't look like it's going to happen.
I've got very quick questions. You got to go. I've got to go. Yeah. Very quick question. Do you know what they say to me, these businessmen? And you speak to them as much as I do. They say they're more afraid of a Jeremy Corbyn government than they are of a deal negotiated on Brexit. Are you hearing the same thing? You must be hearing similar.
People are afraid both of Brexit and of Jeremy Corbyn, and that's why I urge them to vote for the Liberal Democrats, because that way you can avoid Jeremy Corbyn becoming the Prime Minister of this country and you can stop Brexit.
All right, this is quick fire. I've got two quick questions. You're doing your numbers, we're all doing our numbers. What do you think tomorrow?
I don't think they have the numbers because the DUP, who they rely on to govern, have said that they will not only abstain on this, they will actually vote against the proposals the Prime Minister comes forward with.
And final question, when will you be standing, do you think, as an MP? When do you think the next general election is?
I think it's going to have to come before Christmas, to be frank, because the government's got a majority of -45. It doesn't have a majority. It can't get its Queen's speech through. I do not see, what would we do here? I mean, at the moment, it is dysfunctional, it doesn't work, and the government can't govern.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.